If you're a working class New Yorker and you've been reading the headlines recently, you probably think Zohran Mamdani hates you. And that's probably what the media wants you to think. Three stories have been making the rounds recently. One, Mamdani wants to raise property taxes 9.5%, that he wants to lower the real estate tax exemption from $7 million to $750,000, and even worse, that he wants to add more parking meters across the city. Here's the thing about these headlines, all right? They're not entirely true. The mayor of New York City cannot raise taxes on millionaires by himself. He needs Albany to do that. The only tax he can raise by himself is property tax. So the property tax threat is a message to Hochul. It's a plan, not a promise. And the threat says that you're going to give us a millionaire tax or I have to raise these property taxes. And it's smart political strategy given the timing that we're in. See, Governor Kathy Hochul is running for re-election this year. And if the public knows that she vetoed a millionaire's tax and in response, they have to pay more in property taxes, yeah, it's not going to look good for her on the ballot. So Zohran is making her make the choice publicly, either the people that vote for you or the donor class that fund you. Now the estate tax proposal. Right now, you only pay an estate tax in New York City when you pass if you're leaving behind $7 million or more. Zohran drops a memo, not a policy, not a law, that proposes lowering this threshold to $750,000. Now the headlines make it sound like this is going to tax outer borough homeowners, like the people in Queens. But that's not how estate tax works. Estate tax means that it kicks in at the threshold. So if someone sells a house for $800,000, you're only getting taxed on the $50,000 that it is above that tax exemption line. But a hedge fund worth $800 million gets taxed 50% of everything above $750,000. That would bring in $4 billion of revenue to the city. That is a good policy. But again, it's not even a law. It's just a memo. It's a conversation starter for negotiation process that happens in Albany. And the parking fees, I mean, yeah, that sucks, but it's not going to cover this deficit that the city is facing. But how did we get in this deficit in the first place, and how bad is it? Cash assistance is a program that gives direct payments to New Yorkers that need it the most, who can't afford food or housing. This is like the city's last line of defense to keep people from falling into homelessness, and the city is legally required to provide it. Now, Eric Adams budgeted $867 million for this program last year, but the true cost actually ended up being $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion worth of New Yorkers needed the cash assistance program. But this wasn't a surprise. Eric Adams knew about this. The comptroller flagged this. The independent budget office flagged this. It was Eric Adams that chose to write a number that wasn't true, so the budget sheet looked balanced and looked like he was doing a good job. And it wasn't just for cash assistance. He did this across dozens of programs: homeless shelters, special education programs, and rental assistance programs. When Zohran took office, he opened up the books and told New Yorkers what the balance sheet actually was. And after years and years of Eric Adams doing this, it turned out to be a $12 billion deficit. That's not a crisis that Zohran created. It's one that someone else hid, and it's one that Zohran is trying to solve. And he's been able to, by the way, this $12 billion deficit, I think, down to $5.4 billion or something like that. Good job. And his solution has been the same since day one: a 2% increase on income taxes on hyper wealthy individuals. Tax the rich. And you know what? The other day, state legislator actually approved it. It was Kathy Hochul that blocked it. You're beginning to see the political strategy here. Here is one easy solution: 2% income tax. Or here's a bundle of solutions that'll affect way more people for the worse. And let's be clear, Zohran is saying that that's not his plan, but that is the nature of this game if his policy measures are blocked. So the fight isn't Zohran versus the middle class. It's Zohran and the state legislator against Governor Hochul and her army of millionaire, billionaire donors.